Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. As I mentioned yesterday, Fallout cards are now available on Magic Online, which includes Pre-War Formalwear. This is a 3-mana equipment. When it enters, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield and attach this card to it. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has Vigilance, and you can re-equip for 3 mana. So this card has been making waves in the paper world, and finally we get to play it online. So I'm playing it in a mono-white Death and Taxes shell. This is a list I scraped from a Japanese tournament. We have all the things you would expect. We've got our Solitudes, our Plows, our Skyclaves to deal with our opponent's stuff. We've got White Orchid Phantom, which we can then use to smash up our opponent's lands, alongside our Wastelands and Ghost Quarters to really punish our opponent that way. We've got ourselves the Mother of Runes to protect our creatures. We have Aether Vials and Vexing Baubles to help resolve things, and the Vexing Baubles can also give us a little bit of a helping hand against some combo decks. We've got Phelia, which can reuse our ETB triggers like Stoneforge and Phantom. We have Flickerwisp, which can also do the same thing. We have Recruiter, which is one of our card advantage engines. We can blink this a few times with our Phelia or our Flickerwisp, or the Yorion that we have in our companion zone. And we also have one of Ephemerate. And we've got a few little spicy bullets here. So we've got a Lion Sash, a Containment Priest, a Loran, the third party. These are things that we can go and grab when we need to. We also have Phyrexian Metamorph, where we can grab this and copy the scariest thing on the board, which is a pretty cool way of doing things. Our equipment package is pretty light. I just put it out over here. So we have Kaldra, 2 Pre-War Formalwears, and a Lion Sash. No need for Badass Skulls, apparently. Obviously, I'm not a Death and Taxes player, so I'm just going to go with what I've been shown here by players who are Death and Taxes players. So, mana base-wise, it's pretty much the things you'd expect. We have Flagstones, which combos with our White Orchid Phantom, so we can blow this up and then ramp ourselves out a little bit. We've got a whole bunch of planes. We have one Meticulous Archive here, which is just to have a Surveil land in the deck. This is something where if someone blows up a land and they have you search your library for a land with a basic type, that sort of jazz, then you can go and get this out. We're not trying to fetch for it, but we can still use our Flagstones to get it. So we've got 2 ways of getting this, really, with the Flagstones and then what our opponent is doing. Because Flagstones just says planes, and this is a planes. So that's kind of an interesting piece of technology. Sideboard-wise, what are we looking at? Well, we've got some more removal. We've got Cataclysm, which I haven't seen in a hot minute, but this can certainly blow a whole bunch of stuff up. Wrath of the Skies, again, good for blowing stuff up. Some Graveyard Hate of various forms. Disruptor Flute for combo decks, things like Doomsday or Storm, or something that's going to be difficult for us to interact with. We also have a couple of copies of the Stoneblade, which isn't one you see very often, and I'm not 100% sure what it's doing here. Obviously, some of our combo matchups are bad, so this is just a card that can help that, get rid of all their Thassa's Oracles or whatever in a Doomsday deck. But yeah, not convinced this is the best way to approach things, but I understand what it's trying to achieve. Alright, that's the list. We're going to be playing fair white creatures today, so let's see how that goes. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you want to see my videos early, for just £1 a month, you get to do that as a YouTube member. Let's jam some Death and Taxes. Alright, our opener seems like a classic Death and Taxes hand. We can play out our planes and our Aether Vial, and slowly grind our way into this game with some nice card advantage off of this Recruiter and the Phelia. Okay, once upon a time, so we're not playing against blue-black. Boggart Trawler. Should I be worried about this? Well, we don't really have much choice. If I draw a Vexing Bauble, I might play that instead. I think we are just get the Aether Vial in and see if we can win the game that way. Now, this Boggart Bog might just be there as a land that is also a spell. And now I've seen 2 of these lands, I'm kind of thinking we're about to get Oots or Spelled, which is a matchup that we're not going to win. Alright, Cabal Ritual, Dark Ritual, Undercity Informer. Yep. They're going to crack this. Let's see what they reveal here. And see if their build is obviously a little bit different with these Once Upon a Times. We got here Memory's Journey, Bastray Spies. Okay, so they've got Poxwalker Plan in there as well. They have the Jack-o'-lantern, which is really key. Funny black and white version as well. What else we got? Pact of Negations. Is there a Reanimate in here? They've got no cards in hand. No, they've got 3 cards in hand. They've got no cards in library, obviously. Do they have... So they got a Chancellor as well. I can't see the Reanimate. It might be in their hand. They are playing a 60-card build, though. So what they do here is they reanimate the Thassa's Oracle using a Dread Return. Alright, this is the sort of matchup that we just are going to struggle with all the time. But we've got some Graveyard Hate here. I guess we can Stone Brain and Disruptor Flute. What is going to be useful on our side? I do not believe... Like, the Plows are only going to work if our opponent combos with cards in their library from a Memory's Journey, which is such a niche thing that I don't think we need these. Then what else are we looking at? We might be able to take out some artifact mana played out early with a Skyclave, so it's probably the Solitudes that go. Like Mother of Runes is pretty bad here, but maybe we can protect something like a Containment Priest using our Mother of Runes, and that might be able to do something. Yeah, we don't have great options here. Okay, we've got a piece of Graveyard Hate in our opener. It doesn't really get better than that for us, so we're gonna see if we can Faerie Macabre. Now you have to make sure you select the right things with the Faerie Macabre, which isn't always the most obvious. Let's get our Aether Vial. So we might be playing Ghost Quarter. We can Ghost Quarter our own Flagstones, which gets us 2 lands, so it kind of just gives us white. A Dark Ritual. A Cabal Ritual. So they have the 4 mana required to do their thing. They're also firing off a Cabal Ritual as well. A Balustrade Spy. 2 cards left in our opponent's hand. Okay, so these Narcomoves come back. So if we try and Faerie Macabre when they have 1 mana floating, they're just going to cycle it through the Jack-O-Lantern if it's in their graveyard. So let's check to see if the Jack-O-Lantern is in their hand or in the graveyard. Jack-O-Lantern, where are you? They do have the Jack-O-Lantern. So they can just Memory's Journey it back in. So what is the play here? If we get rid of the Thassa's Oracle, then it goes into their deck off of this Memory's Journey. How many Thassa's Oracles do they have? It should just be the 1 in this list. It is just the 1. So we then need to, if we hit the Memory's Journey, now they're going to cast the Memory's Journey anyway. What is the other card we take here? This is a difficult decision. How many Dread Returns are we seeing here? Do we need to get rid of a Bridge from Below? Are we going to lose to the zombie plan? So they can put 3 cards back in, and then they can make 1, 2, 3, 4 lots of zombies. That might be enough to win the game, so I think we take out the Bridge from Below here. As weird as that is, because they get the Poxwalkers that come back and make a bunch of zombies as well. So the plan is that we can stave off them winning using our Mana Disruption in our hand. Yep. So they're exiling the Jack-O-Lantern from their graveyard. It's some really sweet tech, actually, they've been employing. I'm surprised it took so long to find the Jack-O-Lantern. It just seems like a perfect card for what you're trying to do here. Just gives you this extra layer of protection. So what are they going to do here? Is it going to be Thassa's Oracle and 2 Lotus Petals? Because that's a little tricky for us to deal with. What are they targeting? Lotus Petal, Thassa's Oracle. So next turn, they draw either a Lotus Petal or Thassa's Oracle. Turn after they draw the next bit, and then they draw the next bit. So we kind of have a couple of draw steps to try and piece something together. What exactly that looks like, I'm not sure. But if they, let's say, had a Bridge from Below here, they could sacrifice this to Cabal Therapy us, get the Poxwalkers and a zombie, and then sacrifice all the other stuff with the Poxwalkers, and they could bring back like Balustrade Spies and hit us with them, or bring back some other bits. Alright, so they're discarding the Poxwalkers into their graveyard by targeting themselves. So that's where their Poxwalkers was kept. Yeah, like they could have had like 9 power if we don't take the Bridge from Below there. And we just don't beat that before they deck. 6 damage won't be enough to kill us. But they do get to see what we're working with. They're going to Dread Return their Chancery Annex. Yeah, that's a different problem for us. So that's what, 8 damage? So we still might be okay here. Stoneforge Mystic. What does that actually achieve for us here? We play it, it gets hit by the Chancellor. Is there any point wastestanding our opponent? I don't believe there is. You need that mana to pay for a spell next turn, potentially. So the Phantom can block the Chancellor for a turn. We just need to find a way to stop this Chancellor from killing us. I don't really know what way that is. Maybe our opponent plays out a piece of artifact mana, and then we get to capitalize on it that way. And Plains as well. Stoneforge Mystic is very unlikely to be what we need here. None of these seem particularly great. But if we get Pre-War Formalwear, we can bring back the Faerie Macabre. Not that bringing it back to play really makes much of a difference. But it is a flyer, so I think that's probably where I want to be here. Obviously we have the White Orchid Phantom to try and do something with here. There is a Lotus Petal. So they played out a Lotus Petal. That is a mistake. That means if we draw a Skyclave, we can take this out. Let's put the Felmire. I guess we could maybe hit our Flagstones here, and then we get access to a Surveil land. It's just Parallel Life Total here. I guess we can do that in our upkeep using this Pre-War Formalwear. Yeah, we should have done this last turn instead. So we get to get basic, and then we get to get the Meticulous Archive here. That can surveil us towards 3-drop that we need. And we find it. Absolutely rewarded there. Okay, so we can play out this Ghost Quarter now and pass. Our opponent draws a card, attacks us, and then they draw the last card in their library and they can't cast it. So playing out that Lotus Petal gave us the edge that we needed to actually win this game. There we go. Play to your outs, people. That's what happened there. Now we have to do that on the draw, which I'm not very confident about. Interesting they decided they didn't want us to have Solitude when that was their first Cabal Theory. Maybe it's just because it's a thing that we can actually cast. But yeah, our opponent made a mistake and we managed to fully capitalize on it. Wow. Okay, we have a piece of Graveyard Hate. We have some combo-y, anti-combo stuff as well. We also start with an Aether Vial. Okay, so a Chancellor of the Annex. Once Upon a Time. This build Once Upon a Time is interesting. Like, it finds Spirit Guides, it finds Bog Up Bogs. Seems pretty good. There is an Undercity Informer. One card in our opponent's hand, and it's a Chancellor of the Annex. They have the mana to Jack-O-Lantern here. So now we're in Faerie Macabre territory again. So I think it's the Oracle and the Bridge from Below like it was last time. Trying to get to Jack-O-Lantern, put back the Oracle and some Lotus Petals. And then we play the Aether Vial out to get rid of the Chancellor of the Annex trigger so that we can maybe play the Stoneblade and use that to exile their fastest Oracle. Now, our opponent's going to have a reasonable amount of power. They probably Cabal Therapy themselves, then put the Chancellor back into play. Actually, they've got Chancellor in the graveyard already because they're playing multiple Chancellors. Yeah, okay. Pink kinds of Poxwalkers. We're putting up a good fight, even though his matchup is horrible. Okay, 2 Narcomoebas, 3 Narcomoebas. Do they Cabal Therapy us? I guess if they see the Stone Brain, they can just say no to it. Right. They named Aether Vial. This is all our opponent's first turn as well, so we're having a lot. They get to fire off as many Cabal Therapies as they want because of Poxwalkers keep coming back whenever they cast a Cabal Therapy. They got rid of the Phelia. Because now we have to get through a Chancellor trigger as well as try and play the Stone Brain and activate it, which is a big ask. Okay, Dread Return is going to get back the Chancellor. So now the first spell we play is going to have 2 Force Spikes on it. And every spell we're going to play has Force Spike on it. So next turn, so they're going to bash us for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then 9 again. I don't think we can win this one. I think we're just going to scoop it up. Yeah, we managed to take it to 3 games, which I'm surprised with because our deck is very cold to this sort of stuff, generally speaking. Alright, let's go to round 2. Alright, we're into round 2. The double vial start isn't ideal, but it means that whatever we draw, we're going to be able to put into play. We're not going to have to worry about counter magic. Our hand doesn't really go anywhere on its own, though. I think I'll keep this on the draw because we're going to have more shots at finding some action. We've got some basics underneath us. We've always got a Yoran we can grab if we need to. This Witch Enchanter becomes a spell rather than a land. It was quite a mana-heavy hand, though. Bloodstained Mire. I got the feeling that we're going to get reanimated on. An Ephemerate, this is the card that doesn't actually do anything on its own. Maybe we get to do some Witch Enchanter stuff down the stretch. Let's just get our Aether Vial underneath us. Get that mana advantage going into the mid-game. And hope there is a mid-game. I always feel with Yoran decks, I'm more happy just to keep a hand that just got some lands and spells in, really. I don't feel you can mulligan for specific things. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan for a little bit more action here. But our opponent's at least shown us blue mana, so having these Aether Vials makes some amount of sense, given there are probably going to be some amount of Force of Will and Days in our opponent's list. A Brainstorm. Okay, so we're not going in Tomb Reanimated on unless our opponent is a Dark Ritual or Lotus Petal build, which you don't see that often. You've got Fetch Land to go alongside their Brainstorm as well. Chrome Mox. Okay, so our opponent might be on the Epic Storm, which is, again, a horrible matchup for us. Especially since we don't have anything like Deafening Silence that we can reach for. At least when you play pretty much any blue deck in Legacy, you have the safety valve of a Force of Will. The Song of Creation our opponent's played pretty much tells us for certain that our opponent is on the Epic Storm. Alright, again, Commercial District. This might mean they're not going this turn. But it's curious why you would play out the Chrome Mox. Maybe they fear that we're a black-white build and can discard them. Another Aether Vial. That's not really going to cut it. I guess I want to give them minimal information about what we're up to. Oops, all Aether Vials, I guess. I'm probably just going to look at this and laugh. And proceed to combo us out. Now, if we can get a little bit further into this game, we can fire our Witch Enchanter and take out their Chrome Mox. And maybe we can Ephemerate it and blow some stuff up. Like mid-combo chain, perhaps. Like taking out a key Lion's Eye Diamond. Our opponent does only have 4 cards, which isn't a huge amount. But it doesn't take much. Like if they Echo Vions and all of a sudden we're playing a very different looking game. I think they have enough here to beseech and kill us with Guy as well. Because they can bargain away the Chrome Mox. Alright, we're going for a Echo line. So we're going to get a new hand of cards. Which might be alright. Lets us do something with these Aether Vials. Okay, so what does our hand do here? Not a lot. We've got a Stoneforge, so we can put that in. We can either get some pressure or we can try and get some disruptive elements. But I think the chances are we're going to die this turn. If our opponent's continuing to cast spells. I suppose we might have like a Galvanic Relay. Although I think some of the lists have dropped Galvanic Relay. There's a Brainstorm underneath the Chrome Mox. There's going to be another Brainstorm. Okay, so they're digging for the pieces they need to actually kill us right now. So maybe we get another turn. So we can Phelia and blink their Chrome Mox. And force some mana out of them if we get a turn. Well, we need 2 turns to do that. But Beseech the Mirror. Storm is already 10, so this just gets tendrils and points at our face. Okay. That is the end of that chapter. Let's try and do something. I guess Disruptor Fruit and Stonebrain have some text here. Faerie Macabre is so rarely going to pick up anything. The Wrath of Skies can sweep a bunch of artifact mana that they play it out. So these are pretty much anything I'm interested in. We do not require any Plows. We do not require Solitudes. Do I like any sort of Ghost Vacuum action? Is it better than this Solitude? Maybe. Like, it's not very good against them because they're not going to Echo Vions until they can put it in the graveyard and activate it without having a window of interaction. Because they have priority, they crack their Lion's Eye Diamond, the Echo Vions goes into the graveyard, then they have priority still, so they can then cast it, and then we never get a chance to take it with a Ghost Vacuum. We can keep Cabal Ritual stuff down, we can make the Gaia's Will lines worse. That's probably worth having some things, just because some of the other stuff in our deck is so bad. I don't believe Phyrexian Metamorph is going to be doing the work for us. And I'm not really into the Mother of Runes here. Yeah, real tough spread of matchups already in this league. Turn 1 Aether Vial. We have a Stonebrain, which can do some stuff. We have Wastelands, which can do some stuff. We don't really have tools like Deafening Silence that we're working towards, so we kind of just have to play with what we've got. We might be able to go turn 1 Aether Vial, turn 2 Stonebrain, and then crack the Stonebrain and Wasteland. But that's a lot of turns before our opponent is impacted by what we're doing. So they might just be able to get us, because their deck can win on turn 1. Normally it doesn't. It's normally like a turn 2-ish kind of combo deck. But they could definitely go underneath whatever we've got going on here. So we might be in a position where we have to Wasteland. But then we can't get the Stonebrain off. They might not give us a Wasteland target with this Verdant Catacombs. They might just wait. Or we might be seeing a whole new hand. Okay, they didn't do anything there. So probably want to go and get a Surveil land here. If we play a Wasteland, they don't get to Surveil. Or they can Surveil, but it will come at cost. Let's see what we draw and see if it changes how I want to play this game. So if we play out the Stonebrain, what do we even name with the Stonebrain is the problem. Like we name Burning Wish, they still have Beseech the Mirror. We name Beseech Mirror, they still have Burning Wish. So we don't actually get around what they're doing. I think the play here is play out Wasteland. If they fetch an end of turn Surveil land, we can then waste it. Just denies them the selection of one card. Like the Stonebrain is obviously going to look a lot better when you're playing against Doomsday than when you're playing against Storm. Because the whole point of Storm is it has this layers of redundancy built into it with different ways they can put a win on board. Alright, so our opponent won't have any basics to fetch due to the nature of their deck, so we do get to Wasteland something here. Is that better than casting Phelia? Almost certainly. So the Aether Vials aren't really good in this matchup, to be honest with you. But what they do allow us to do is to play the mana denial game whilst still applying pressure. It slows down the pressure that we're applying. But it's going to be better than having source to Plowshares in our deck because we're just not going to have any targets. Maybe you sometimes plow your own guy to get over a Tendrils Agony, but our opponent should be able to play around that pretty handily. Right, they're passing with a similar line to last turn. So I think we're going to pass with a very similar line to last time, except this time we get a Phelia. Alternatively, we get the Stoneforge and we can start putting some pressure in. But we don't know if we're going to draw a land. So if we get Phelia, we can then get our Recruiter and start blinking our Recruiter, although we're probably going to be trying to Skyclave their Lion's Eye Diamond next turn. They did not fetch, which means that they are in need of the mana that they have here. They can't afford to have this Wastelanded for a selection. That is the information our opponent's giving us, so we can build upon that and try and deny them mana as best we can. They don't use their life total as a resource, so just jamming a Stoneforge Mystic isn't necessarily the most important thing. We don't have particularly great bullets to find with our Recruiter here. And Urza's Saga. So we can Wasteland this before it learns how to make mana, and that denies our opponent a mana this turn. Considering we are in trying to deny our opponent anything we can territory, I think that makes sense to do. This is also an enchantment for the purposes of bargaining with a Beseech. Alright, our opponent's got no additional follow-up there. What are we putting in? If we draw the land, are we casting the Stonebrain or are we just activating the Stoneforge? I'm going to play the Stoneforge. It thins our deck slightly, so we're maybe more likely to draw one of these Vexing Baubles. I think we get... I think it's just the Kaldra here. Just try and represent the most amount of damage that we can do. We're going to get rid of their Lion's Eye Diamond here. So we're definitely upping this. Right, let's just get our clock going. So our opponent is going to Surveil land here because we aren't showing a Wasteland and they clearly want to have more access to the right bits and pieces. So we're going to Skyclave either after they've finished their Surveil or in their upkeep. Are they going to Surveil here? I'm expecting it. This doesn't add storm count by putting this in anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. But I'd rather they Surveil thinking they're going to have this Lion's Eye Diamond. So they're going to go and get the Commercial District, I think is the red-green one. Right, so we let them Surveil, and then we take out their Lion's Eye Diamond. Get out of here, Lion's Eye Diamond. So they might have built their plan around having access to this Lion's Eye Diamond. So we have 8 damage coming through next turn. I don't think we can do anything exciting with a Recruiter of the Guard to increase that. So we do need to connect twice more. We can go and get a White Orchid Phantom and then blow up one of their lands to try and reduce the amount of mana they have to go. We might also just give them a shuffle on their Brainstorm if we do that. I think that's probably still the right thing to do, though. It'd be kind of nice to have some kind of... I guess we can't have Canonist, because most of the stuff they play are artifacts, but we could have... It would still be fine to have a Canonist here. You have like an Archon of Emeria, the 2/3. No, that doesn't work, because you can't fetch it with a Recruiter, can you? I'm sure there's something like that you could have to fetch. Maybe it is just a Canonist, which isn't perfect, like I said, because I have artifacts, but it might help. Just having a tool of some description to use. Alright, so I have a Bayou. This is, you know, the Dark Ritual mana that has been denied our opponent for a while. Put this trigger on a stack, but we'll say no to the Aether Vial, because our plan is Recruiter for the Phantom. Just attack. We're going to put in this Recruiter of the Guard. Oh wow. They're just scooping it up to the Recruiter. Though they don't even know we're putting in the Recruiter, they just scoop it up to whatever we're putting in. Okay, that felt reasonable. Is a Phyrexian Metamorph copying something like a White Orchid Phantom? Is that more useful than a Mother of Runes? I think it probably is. Doesn't seem great, but it's a thing that we have. Alright, Disrupt the Flute might be useful. I think this is okay. We have a card that does something. And we have some mana denial in the Wasteland. But our opponent's on the play, so they might just be able to do us in before we really get to do anything. Let's hope they don't kill us on turn 1. Lotus Petal. Mox Opal. Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, this only feels like they could try and kill us on turn 1. They've got Ezra Saga. They are Dark Ritualing. In response to their Saga trigger, for some reason. Alright, Echo Vion. So we're just going for a spin, but they're going to have a load of mana floating. Alright, doesn't matter what our opening hand looked like. Yeah, this hand is worse, I would say. Another Lion's Eye Diamond. Is this going to be wheeling again? Or are we just going to work our way up to a Beseech kill? Or a Brainstorm. That suggests to me that our opponent doesn't have everything rolled up in their hand. They need to find a little bit more juice. Maybe they found it because they're playing more spells. I guess the best thing for us to hope for is that they wheel rather than just killing us. Not a great situation for us to be in. They could cast a Song of Creation here. A Burning Wish. They did not crack the LED. So what does that mean? Does it mean they made a mistake? Or does it mean that their plan involves just having 3 mana here? They could do a Galvanic Relay. Like a really big relay cracking this Lotus Petal. That gets them 10 cards for next turn. A draw 10 with Lion's Eye Diamond in play is probably pretty good. And realistically, we're not the sort of deck that can punish that either. Unless we draw our Vexing Bauble and maybe we get there. Echo of Eons. Alright, they're just going for another draw 7. So they're going for trying to win now rather than just queuing up a load of draws for next turn. Makes sense, I suppose. Right, we're brainstorming again. A Lotus Petal. Alright, there's the Lion's Eye Diamond cracked. Here is another Echo of Eons. So they're going to have 2 mana available after this. Sorry, 3 mana available. Our hand is much better than it was, so that's nice, but I don't know if we're going to get a turn. Our opponent has Lethal Storm. They just need to string together enough mana to cast a Beseech or a Burning Wish here. Yeah, so Burning Wish is lethal now. Beseech is now lethal because they got triple black. There's 1 black. A Dark Ritual, sure. I'd be amazed if they didn't have it here. Oh, wow. Okay, we're just going for another spin, are we? They really can't find it. But they have mana for Beseech if they find it. They can also Burning Wish for it. There's so many lines they have. And our hand is not great here. We do get to cast a Vexing Bauble, which maybe stops our opponent. Because if their engine is Echo of Eons, they're not going to have those in their deck if they have to pass a turn here. Another Brainstorm. Now they really are digging for that final piece. Haywire Might. That's probably not where they wanted to go. That does give them a clean way of blowing up our Vexing Bauble though. Which means you're probably not supposed to cast the ball, we're supposed to cast the Vial. If they've got a land, they can actually just crank out some Construct tokens and beat us down with those. So I think we play out the Vial in the hopes that our opponent Haywire Mights away our Vial, and then we can stick the Vexing Bauble. More land would obviously be a thing that would help us out here. So it's our opponent's turn now, and next turn they get access to another Lion's Eye Diamond from this Urza Saga. They've used up an awful lot of their clock. They've only got 7 minutes left. And we've got 20. Which kind of shows you the amount that we've been playing this game compared to our opponent. We are a passenger. So this Witch Enchanter is going to have to be a land. There's an argument for playing out the Witch Enchanter last turn instead of the Ghost Quarter. So that we have access to White Orchid Phantom if we draw another white source. But we're probably more in the realm of wanting to play this Vexing Bauble anyway. And if I can ideally use this Witch Enchanter as a spell, that'd be grand. Maybe that's a pipe dream and we should have just played it out before. Something to think about. Alright, so they're blowing up our Vial. This was our plan all along, so that's nice. I actually have the Karakas. Play the Vexing Bauble. I think I would like to take out my opponent's Urza Saga here. They're going to get 1 guy. But next turn we can play the Phantom anyway. Or are we supposed to hold on to this Witch Enchanter because it blows up a construct very easily? But this is worth multiple constructs. I think we just take out the Saga and let them have their 1 guy. It stops them getting another Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah, so this is only going to be a 4-4. And they're going to struggle to put any other artifacts into play given this Bauble. I would imagine they've boarded out their Veil of Summers in favour of permanent removals to blow up things like Deafening Silence and that sort of jam. Another Urza Saga. Okay. So the Phantom can blow that up. And then the second Phantom gives us enough first strike damage to put in front of this construct and brick it for a while. We can also just let one of our Phantoms die and then Pre-War Formalwear it back if we can find some more mana. An Aether Vial. I don't think we are about that life just yet. Goodbye Urza Saga. They don't have any lands to fetch off of this either. If we drew a land, I'd be tempted to block here. But because we didn't, we're just going to let the damage through and then play the second Phantom and hope that's enough to hold back their guy for a bit. And if we draw the third land, then it obviously means we can Pre-War Formalwear back one of our guys if it dies. Take out more of their lands. You carry on brainstorming, opponent. They got a lot of cards, but maybe they don't have anywhere to go with them. They have a fetch land, so at least they get to not have to draw those horrible cards they put back. In comes the Construct. We'll take it. We are going to give them a free shuffle here. Faerie Macabre. Unlikely to be useful, but not impossible. Take out the land. I do like these little white Orchid Phantoms. They feel pretty cool. But I do like blowing up people's lands more than most. So now we have 4 power of First Strike to check the Construct. Next turn we can play another Phantom and then work our way towards actually attacking our opponent for lethal. It's going to take us a while, but we'll get there. Well, you know what this third white Orchid Phantom in our hand is going to do. There's a red mana. Is this going to be for an Abrade? No, it's a Burning Wish. Okay. So they're going to be going to find something that can deal with our Vexing Bauble, most likely. A Beseech the Mirror. Okay, no, they're taking a different approach. A Dark Ritual here. Okay. So maybe this is one where the Faerie Macabre will actually get us there. There's a Dark Ritual. Many Dark Rituals. Our Lotus Petal, this is just for Storm. Our opponent knows this is going to get countered by the Bauble. It's not a misplay. It's building up a Storm. Same with this Lion's Eye Diamond. Beseech the Mirror. Storm is very much lethal here. Because they can go and fetch a Tendrils and just point it straight at our face. They don't have to do any Gaia's Will lines. They can just dome us. And that will be the end of that, unfortunately. But if they make a mistake and go for a Gaia's Will line here, we may be able to blow them out. Yeah, they're just going to... So the first one gets countered, but all the copies resolve. Because the copies aren't cast, they're just copied. So they won't get found by the Bauble. So that is the end of... Wait, what? Why is our opponent conceding? They won that match. When this trigger resolves, they get all of the copies, right? What? I'm so confused. This works, right? The Beseech copy they cast for free gets countered. But these copies are not cast. When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell that was cast before this turn. You may choose new targets. So these aren't cast, and this only triggers off of things that are cast. So our opponent conceded there, and they should have won. Okay. Let's go to round 3, I guess. Alright, what does our hand do here? A turn to Phelia into, like, Loran. This doesn't feel great, but this does supercharge a lot of our draws. So I think we keep this. We can lead off on the Flagstones, because we don't care if that gets Wastelanded. And we have Pre-War Formalwear in our hand, which is one of the cards that we want to show people today. Opponent is mulliganing. Are they going to be some sort of deck that just comes out and smashes us super early? There is an option to play out the Karakas first in case our opponent is playing some sort of Reanimator deck. And they put some big monster into play that we want to bounce. I think I would rather have the Flagstones and play around Wastelands, which is a lot more common than a turn 1 monster. And a lot of the turn 1 monsters are still going to get the value on if they put it into play anyway. So it's not like we can say, oh, okay, your Grizzlebrand isn't any good. They're going to still have like 14 cards and probably put it into play anyway. Our Windswept Heath. Are we playing against the fair deck? Could be Green White Depths. That's like the most common Windswept Heath deck at the moment. Could be some sort of Cradle Control. Oh, it could be the Nadu combo. That's going to be pretty good against us as well. Hey, we can Karakas their Nadu, right? All it does is let them draw a free card and delay them by 1 turn. I think the Nadu combo deck is very, very strong. I think people are sleeping on it a little bit. Right, so that is a Nadu. We flash in the Phelia. We can bounce this Nadu and Wasteland their Savannah and hope that they don't get to play the game next turn. If we find a Plow or something, we can do that. Or Solitude is probably worth it. We're not going to need this around on the third path. We can pitch that to a Solitude, try and take out the Nadu. Flickerwisp, that's probably not the one, is it? Right, let's take out this Nadu. Yes, you get to get a little look, but I can't let this... Oh, that's so bad for us. Why is it a land? I think that's the game already. Doesn't feel like we're playing the same format as some of our opponents today, does it? So now our plan to Wasteland looks really bad because they have all the mana anyway. But if we Wasteland them and they don't have a land, I think we take them off of blue here. And then if we get removal, we can stop them from casting Nadu. So the plan here is to hope that our opponent can't cast Nadu and Nomads in the same turn. If our opponent can't cast Nadu and a Nomads, then maybe we get another turn. Again, we have to do horrible, like, oh, let's Karakas our opponent and see how that turns out for us. And that is not really where I want to be. Alright, so they have the land. They got the Nadu and the Nomads together. Right, here's the Nadu. No nomads as of yet. Pre-War Formalwear. Not the one we wanted. So we could blink this out. And that's not going to be very good for us. What is our option here to do anything? I guess we need to keep pushing damage. Oh wow, I hate this so much. I don't know how we're supposed to get through this. Delighted Halfling, sure. They didn't have a Nomads in Court though. But they might have a Chord of Calling that they can utilise. We don't even have anything to keep blinking with this Phelia, which is a bit of a pity. Our opponent's long game is better than ours because their long game is infinite cards basically. And we're not going to be able to outvalue that. And our deck is supposed to be the value deck. So you can see our dilemma here. They're going to be pretty good at stopping our creatures. Alright, an uncharitable Nadu again. Do you have a Nomads? No, it's just a Delighted Halfling. They cannot Chord yet. But next turn they can. White Orchid Phantom. Okay, I'm down to play with that one. Let's make a horrible play that I hate. Cast a Phantom. We at least start scaling up our Phelia here. But Tundra. They will have one island, I think, right? In comes the Phelia. Should have played the Karakas pre-combat just in case. There's a plow on our White Orchid Phantom. Not on the Phelia. I think we have to play out the Karakas because if our opponent plays the Nadu, we will at least want the ability to bounce it. If they play something like a Nomads in response, whilst they've got the Nadu in play. Because as soon as they assemble that combo, we lose the game. We're not going to beat them drawing 8 cards a turn. Especially when a third of those cards go straight into play. There is the Nadu. A Bristly Bill. I guess we have to bounce the Nadu. Swords to Plowshares. Okay. How are we supposed to beat this? Do not know. Pre-War Formalwear is not actually going to be very good in this matchup when their removal is all XR based. Like plows and stuff. And probably some paths or something out the sideboard, perhaps. Yikes. Alright, so Bristly Bill doing its thing. They probably just wait till next turn, play the Nadu, then crack both the fetches. And that ends up poorly for us. As many things do. What are we doing here? I think we are... Bounce the Bristly Bill. Play this. Pay 3 life. Play Flickerwisp. We know they have a plow. But this is going to reset our Karakas. We're working very hard to lose this game, which is an awkward state to be in. Right, so I'm going to crack this now. The plow is worth it to them here. That's kind of interesting. I think whatever, really. They're plowing the Flickerwisp. They don't want us to flicker anything. And grow our Phelia. But yeah, our Karakas is a Library of Alexandria for our opponent. Which is not necessarily how I wanted my cards to be. But now they have enough mana to just play the Nadu and Chord as well. Oh, I hate this so much. Okay. A Ponder. That's a lot of looks. We're just treading water here. We don't actually have a good game plan to try and win this game. Alright, they're just going to grow their Halfling and play another Nadu. They can't Chord yet. They only have a 2-2. A Solitude. Okay. It's a shame we don't get to do play Solitude, blink Solitude. We don't have a way of doing that. But we need to Solitude this Nadu. Our opponent did not play the Ponder, so maybe they have a Force of Will, and that's the blue card they're keeping to go with it. Because the deck is quite shy on blue cards. Alright, Nadu, let's have a trigger, shall we? Let's see how in trouble we are. Okay, so the Bristly Bill is going to pop off twice in response. Possibly more times if they find more land. So they're going to hedge maze here. That's pretty good. So they can stack this so that they hedge maze first. So they get a look to see if the card that they're putting in is what they want. Reveals Nomads and Core. Alright, I will attack with our Phelia. If they want to trade here, I will take that. Because we can then actually get some value out of our silly little Pre-War Formalwear. Maybe we're supposed to blink this Delighted Halfling here. Yeah, I think we're supposed to blink the Halfling and take 2 counters off of it. How much damage they got here? 5, 6, 7, plus another land, which is 8 to 9 damage. Sylvan Safekeeper. Could have bounced the... Oh dear. I don't know how we beat this. Like, we can't target any of their guys here. Yeah. They're going to draw 6 plus cards every turn. Sorry, 12 cards. Alright, removal spells. Cataclysm is probably fine here. Wrath of the Skies is probably playable. Stonebrain, getting rid of Nardu, doesn't hurt. Disruptor Flute, maybe okay. So what do I like here? Their mana base is fragile enough that we can attack it. Vexing Baubles isn't great here. Mother of Runes is fine, but not impressive. Containment Priest is actively good. Lion Sash is not required. Stoneforge Mystic is like the way we try and win the game a lot of the time. So we get rid of this Loran. Don't want this Phyrexian Metamorph, I don't think so. The Pre-War Formalwear looks bad here because it's just exile removal. Maybe trade in combat sometimes, but I think we're better off just getting rid of those. What equipment does that leave us with? Less. Let's get rid of one of our Stoneforge. We're just on the Kaldra here. Alright. We have some removal. We have a thing that can stop Nomads and Core. At least force them into the Sylvan Safekeeper. Do I want to play one of these lands tapped to get out of the way? I think so. I think we're going to be playing one of them as a land. So we may as well get this tap one out now in case our opponent does just pivot onto like a beatdown roll if we're going to be shutting down their Nomads. The other option there is to hold it as a white card for Solitude, but we already have another one and they're not great as creatures anyway. No mana dork for our opponent. That is unexpected. Alright, we'll hold this Disruptor Flute and we can cast it in response to something. If we cast it, our opponent just cracks the Misty Rainforest, which I suspect they were going to do anyway. So we might be able to get them to commit 1 mana to a play that doesn't actually do anything. They're milling off their Dryad Arbor. A Ponder. Just a fair little Ponder. I do think we name the Nomads and Core here. Now we can name Nardu, so that costs a lot more mana. But it doesn't stop them from courting for it. This stops them being able to like activate the Nomad and just go wild with it. I don't think they're fetching to cast anything here. I think they're just fetching so that we can't name Misty Rainforest. Oh no, they got a consign. Sure. Would love to find like a recruiter or something. We did not. So this is a put Yorin in hand turn. We need to get some sort of value out of our Solitude and our Skyclave here. I don't think we're just playing 3 mana 2/2s. Delighted Halfling. So we can at least answer that. And set up for a nice Yorion turn in the future. So our opponent is bringing in Consign to mess with our triggered abilities. So they could have another one that hits the Skyclave trigger. Let's find out. They did not. Okay, cool. So we can reset this Skyclave. So the plan is next turn, they play a creature, we kill it with Solitude, and then we blink our stuff, kill their creatures the following turn. And then we kind of enter the Death and Taxes late game if we can find a Karakas and just remove all their guys every turn. There is a Nardu Winged Wisdom. There is a Nomads. We have the Solitude here. They got a Brainstorm off of that trigger. We don't get to reuse our Solitude now. It's just gone. But we do have the biggest threat in play. Let's attack, and then I think we're going to Yorion, blink our Skyclave, take out our Nomad, so if they have another Nardu, they can't just immediately pop off. Alright, they have a Force of Will for this, pitching a Brainstorm. That was the blue card we knew about, but that's one less card to dig for a Nardu. But if they play a Nardu, we lose here. If they play a land, they can chord for Nardu as well. Okay, they can just wish for the Nardu. So they're going to draw 4 cards now, and then 4 cards on our turn. We're not going to beat that. I think we just scoop it up. Now, our opponents are playing busted stuff, and we are playing all these fair cards, and we are falling behind. And the only match we have is because our opponent didn't know how Vexing Bauble worked, and they had the win. On the stack, they had the win. Okay, let's get around 4. Okay, you know, we have a perfectly serviceable Death and Taxes hand. Turn 2, Stoneforge, potentially turn 3, Stoneforge. You've got some removal. The question is a run-of-the-mill Death and Taxes hand good enough in this current meta? My initial impression is no. Alright. So there is a Saga. I think we just want to snipe this Saga rather than playing our Stoneforge here. Someone who plays a Saga like this is up to no good. So they're either going to be doing Ancient Tomb nonsense next turn, or they're going to be trying to combo us off in a few turns after that. So let's just say no to Saga straight up. And then we can play the Stoneforge next turn. If they play any kind of creature, we at least have the Plow ready to go. Well, it's given us the Fallout Arch rather than the Bloom Barrel, which is a shame. I like the Bloom Barrel one. Love little cute animals. Okay, let's cast this. So what they've shown us here is Shadowclaw Smashing and Urza Saga. That to me says that my opponent is on Painter's Servant, which means I'm going to go get this Lion Sash. We already have the Kaldra anyway, but the Lion Sash can mess up welders. We have this Witch Enchanter, which I would love to use as a spell. Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, maybe I've misread what our opponent's doing. Reforge the Soul, Bergie. Okay, we're on some sort of epic gamble style deck. So we've just shuffled away those cards that we wanted. So that's not ideal. We do have some Vexing Baubles, which aren't going to be amazing here, but they might be okay. Because our opponent can still just cast stuff as rituals. Alright. Casting a Rite of Flame. A Lotus Petal. Storm is already getting right up there. They know we've got nothing, so we're just going to have to F6 here. Jeska's Will. This is like a Ruby Storm style deck, but with added Echo. Reforge the Soul. We're going to be drawing some more cards. This hand is acceptable. We can at least get rid of their Bergie if we get a turn. Whether or not we get a turn remains to be seen, though. We got some more rituals popping off. We got a Lotus Petal, Burning Wish. Like every time our opponent's casting spells, they're getting mana. So they're never going to run out of mana. The resource is going to be cards. And they've chosen Tendrils of Agony. They've got the Lotus Petals to get the black mana. And then they point at our face and we lose. Alright, another combo deck. So 4 combo decks in a row. What are we supposed to do about this? So our opponent might be playing Past in Flames. So I don't think the Graveyard Hate is a terrible idea. They have Bergie, so we probably want to keep access to some amount of removal. Do we want the free removal in Solitude, or do you want the efficient removal in Source Plowshares? Hard to say. I like Ephemerate to blow stuff up if we can blink our Loran or something. The Mother of Runes doesn't seem great here. I guess the Aether Vial goes this time around. Pre-War Formalwear is very unlikely to do anything here. The Sash is okay. Containment Priest does nothing. Phelia is fine. It beats down. Flickerwisp, Skyclave, this stuff is okay. Yeah, I think we'll have the Solitudes and the Plows. I guess that's probably better than having the Vial here. Just because they have the Bergie plan. We just need to make sure the Bergie is gone. We could trim some of these. We could trim Solitudes for the Vials, since we want to be using our Bauble here. We could try that. Yeah, I do feel like I'm playing a different game to my opponents today. We have an answer for Bergie. We don't have any good haymakers outside of the Vexing Bauble, which might not even be a good one because our opponent's got things like Jeska's Will, Rite of Flame, which ignore it. What are we supposed to do here? Lose, I think, is the actual one. So the only reason I do like Aether Vial a little bit is so that we can at least try and mess with our opponent's mana using our Wastelands and Ghost Quarters or whatever whilst our Aether Vial is ticking up so we can apply pressure at the same time. But Aether Vial is so slow at applying pressure. Alright. Obviously Vexing Bauble would have been great here. I don't think when you're playing an 80 card Yorion deck that we can just mulligan to a 4 of. I just don't think that's realistic. Echo of Eons, let's spin it. The Stone Brain. That might be okay. At the very least we get to look at their list and see what's going on. Right, we've got Gamble kicking in here. This could just be another wheel. Right, they have Wish as well as Burning Wish, so we can't just take out all their win conditions with the Stone Brain. If the Wish is in the graveyard, maybe we can. Alright, so they're playing their own Vexing Bauble. Okay. So that means they have some way of getting through counter magic. Or like counter spell stuff so they can play their own Veil of Summer or something. They've drawn 7 cards. What does that mean? Does that mean they have an answer here? They're going very slowly now. They're going to have to crack their own Vexing Bauble. Our opponent took a while to think, and now they are adding some mana. Which suggests to me that they have the cards they need to win, rather than looking for extra cards off of Jeska's Will, although they need the mana so they can crack the Bauble and then play their zeros. So there's a little bit of tension with this Vexing Bauble and what they're doing here. Alright, so now they are cracking this Bauble. I understand why they have the Bauble, so they can get their like big haymakers out. But it does constrain what they're doing a little bit. Right, so we've got Burning Wish here. They're going to crack this Lion's Eye Diamond in response. They're going to have black mana. They're going to Tendrils us right in the face. And we're going to... Oh. A Mind's Desire. Okay, I was about to concede expecting the Tendrils. So, Pyrite Spellbomb. They just had the win there if they got Tendrils. I don't understand why I'm still alive. Are they worried about Mindbreak Trap? Okay. So, what are we doing here? I think we are on take out their Saga. Why didn't they just kill us? What is it? We're living a charmed life today against Storm players, apparently. They will have a mountain here, but they won't have an Aether Saga, which is a lot scarier. Next turn, we can play like Stoneforge or Flickerwisp and take out another land. Alright, it's going to be the Flickerwisp to take out this other Saga. Because our opponent's on low resources. Just attack for 2. Play out our land. It's Flickerwisp. We also do get the Stoneforge as well. But we're just on the try and stop them from Sagaing us. And hope that's enough plan. The Stoneforge we can put in. This only stops spells, so we can still activate abilities on our opponent's turn. Oh, do they only have the one mountain? Let's put in our Stoneforge. Why didn't our opponent tender with us? They're playing too safely around Mindbreak Trap. Kaldra Compleat is fine. We just need to try and win the game, I think. I kind of want this up to 4. So that we can put in this Witch Enchanter. Let's just go and make this Kaldra. Our opponent showed us they have no more basics, so we will be Ghost Quartering them here. So in for a bunch. So notice this mountain that they've shown us is their only basic. And now we have lethal on board. Did our opponent give us a freebie here? We know one of the cards in their hand is Mind's Desire. So Burning Wishing here. Echo of Eons. Alright, we're going for a spin. We might find a 3-drop. Did not find a 3-drop to put in with our Vial. If we get another turn, we can put in a Bauble, but if we get another turn, we get to attack our opponent for lethal anyway. Maybe our opponent misclicked and they wanted to hit the Tendrils, but they didn't crack their LED in response to the Burning Wish. Or maybe because they didn't crack the LED, they needed to change what they were getting. It might have just been like a slight mechanical misclick. We certainly do enough of those ourselves on this channel. Sometimes you do roll 1 on dexterity, and that is life. Right, so opponent's got 3 cards in hand. They've got some mana floating. They've got something to do with it. Burning Wish. I'm choosing Jeska's Will. Is this mana or cards? It's mana. Okay, so we're in a similar position we were into before. There's a Pyrite Spellbomb. There's a Wish. 3 mana plus the Lion's Eye Diamond is enough to Tendrils us out. There it is. Sure, I'm not sure why our opponent made that more difficult for themselves. They nearly ended up letting us have the win, but unfortunately they take us out. So we are 1-3 after 4 rounds against 4 combo decks, and the one that we did win, our opponent conceded with their victory on the stack. So I'm not feeling great about our deck today, but let's see if we can pick up a real legitimate win in the final round. Oh, I'm not sure how long I've been muted for here. So maybe... Sorry about that, if you had to watch that last round without any sound. But in terms of sideboarding, I went along the lines of I don't think the White Orchid Phantoms are that good because our opponent has 2 basics anyway that they can play off of. So we'd need to combo them with a Ghost Quarter to really do work. And also, we just want removal and things that make our removal resolve. So we'll keep this. Scalding Tarn being cracked. Are we going to see a threat or are we going to see a ponder? So something like a Tameo here would start the game off on the front foot for them. And that would be a problem. Another Goyf is not so bad because that's just damage. Okay, so this is awkward. I don't really want to path to exile this now. Okay, we've actually drawn something good here. We can play out this Vial. Because I don't really want to path to exile when our opponent can just use that mana on the next turn and pull further ahead. But I don't want to just hold up a path to exile because our opponent can brainstorm. So having a different 1-drop play is a lot better for us here. Yep, you get your card advantage from these clues. This feels like the first matchup where we actually get to play Magic. So that's exciting for us. Right, we've got counter on our Vial. We've got a piece of removal in hand. I think we just carry on. Once we have this Vial, there's no need to be casting our spells. A Wasteland. We don't care about that. Yep, the Tameo can continue to do its thing. Let's see if they have any sort of stifle effects they want to use on this Vial. Let's go up to 2. Interesting choices here. I think we play out the White Orchid Phantom. Are we going to hit the Wasteland? Or are we going to hit... I think we just hit their colours and try and mess with their colours a little bit. Maybe they try and brainstorm here. And then we can maybe grab the Tameo. They are going for the brainstorm. I think this is where we fire off a plow. Don't really want to play this Eiganjo out into their Wasteland. Oh wow, they're just scooping it up. They've had enough. Okay, very, very peculiar league. We finished 2-3. It should be a 1-4 because our opponent scooped with the win on the stack. But, yeah, we got absolutely buried by combo decks every round. Didn't really matter what the combos were. They were having us every which way, and we couldn't do anything about it. As for the final round, we were playing a fair matchup, right? So that's the blue-black build that doesn't have the reanimated shenanigans. And honestly, that felt fine. We just have a bunch of removal and stuff. Like, Death and Taxes has always been pretty good against Delver-style decks because you kill their guys, and then you just play some nice mid-rangey threats, and you kind of grind through your opponent's resources that way. Like, they pitch 2-for-1 with their Force of Will, but all of your stuff is a 2-for-1 in and of itself because it has its Enter the Battlefield ability and its trigger, so you tend to beat those matchups. And, you know, that played out here. So let's talk about this deck. So, the first 4 rounds kind of showcase why I don't really like Death and Taxes like this. It feels like we don't have the tools to beat a lot of matchups. Like, the whole combo field is going to be horrible, and a lot of the control matchups are going to feel pretty bad because they're just going to keep killing your creatures, and control decks are pretty strong these days. So, kind of worried about this when there's a lot of combo decks floating around. Like Eternal Weekend Asia, I think the best win rate of decks that had like 50+ matches played in the tournament was the Karnforge deck. And then a lot of the decks that are winning at the moment, or that are good, have relatively uninteractive ways of playing Magic the Gathering that can win the game. So, you know, Karnforge, doing your Glaring Fleshraker combo stuff out of the Eldrazi deck. Alternatively, you know, just having your Cavern of Souls lines, which can be quite interactive for some decks. Then you have, you know, the Epic Storm, Doomsday can be quite interactive. You know, just reanimating and putting a big giant monster into play, that's relatively uninteractive. Like Sneak and Show, it's kind of doing its thing. It's not like you're trading resources back and forth in some sort of mid-rangey thing, which is what our deck really wants to do. So, for that reason, I'm not a big fan of this deck at the moment. What I will say is a lot of people who are playing this deck are splashing 1 to 2 colours. They're playing either black or red and blue. So you have the Jeskai Vial deck because you need to dip into other colours to have the resources to tackle the things that are good in the meta right now. You know, Painter's another one that we're probably actually okay against Painter because we have so much removal. That's probably one of the combos that we wouldn't mind playing against, but that's also one of the more played decks in the format right now. So, you know, you're definitely going to have some good matchups, but you're working so hard. Like, when we were playing against the combo decks, we had to do the, you know, hit our own flagstones, try and get the Meticulous Archive, mill off one of our cards so we can try and hit, like, the 1 in 70 shot, or 2 in 70 or whatever shot, to try and actually win that game. We did win that game, we hit our shot, but we're working really, really hard. And a lot of decks are just like, oh, I'm just going to Entomb, reanimate this. Oh, we've countered it, okay. A few turns later, okay, let's Metamorph this Fanatic. Or I'm just going to play just a Psychic Frog, which if you can't answer immediately, starts winning you the game, drawing your cards, beating your opponents down, and it's just really insurmountable. So there's so many just solidly powerful cards, or relatively interactive stuff, or quite easy stuff to just say, look, can you beat this? No? Alright, then you're just going to not get to play the game. Like Eldrazi can just blow up all your lands pretty easily with their Mycospawn Spawn when they're ramping it out. So it's like, is this the sort of deck you want to play right now? I personally do not think so, and if you're thinking about what to play for Eternal Weekend, this is not one that I would really recommend. As for Pre-War Formalwear, this card has quite a lot of power attached to it. I'm not sure that this is the best build for it. I think I would quite like to see a build with more Surveil lands and fetch lands, so a multicolored build, so you can maybe, surveil some stuff into the graveyard and get a bit more joy. I also think this would be really interesting in a red-white painter build, because, you're messing around with artifact a whole bunch. This is an artifact that also gets back your creatures, so this is a way that you can get back welders, get back painter. Seems like it probably has some use there. And I'm sure friend of the channel, Lightwalker, who plays nothing but painter, is going to play some Pre-War Formalwear painter at some point, and I look forward to seeing that. But yeah, Pre-War Formalwear, pretty good. Not so great against exile removal, pretty good against like your failed pushes and stuff. I think it needs a little bit more juice to be squeezed from. I don't think this is the best shell to be running it. I think the card is decent. I don't think Death and Taxes is good right now. I think the reason to play the other builds to get access to things like Mages of the Moon does make a lot of sense given how good that card is. Like, you need a way of shutting your opponent out. So if you look, like all the decks I've talked about so far, you also have Mono Red Prison as one of the top 4 decks, which just has some draws where it says, okay, my opponent doesn't get to play Magic. Turn 1 Blood Moon, you don't get to play Magic, game over. We don't really have anything like that. We're just trying to slowly grind through. And when you have so many buttons that people can press at just winning the game, it feels a little bit awkward to be playing something like this. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything and it really helps the channel out. And with that, thank you once again so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.